Hello, this is Craig and welcome to another episode of Cruising Off Duty. This is going to be considered the Mavic Pro Lost Footage Edition. So as many of you kept telling me in the comments after my last episode, which if you haven't checked it out, check out episode 38 where I lose my Mavic Pro into the Rideau River after having a battery error. It's been a popular video on YouTube, well at least for Mavic Pro type tutorial people. Because a lot of people are curious about why a Mavic would just all of a sudden drop into the water. So check it out and come back and watch this episode afterwards. But a lot of you put in the comments, did you ever check your tablet, which is what I was flying with at the time, to see if you have the video captured in the cache? If you have your settings turned on to your caching or capturing the video on your tablet that's coming from your drone, not only is it being recorded on the SD card on your drone, but it's actually being recorded on your phone or tablet that you're using. That's pretty cool. And at the time, I told people, no, I haven't looked. I came home instantly when I was distraught, obviously. And the first thing I thought is I'm going to need to prove to DJI that there was this battery error if I have any chance of getting this covered under some sort of warranty, defective product warranty. Because I didn't have a Mavic to give back to them for them to check. So I wanted to make sure the log file was there. So I did that first and I went on, I found the log file of the flight and it does show a battery error just before the Mavic loses contact with the controller, which is of course when it went in the water. But I was just so upset. The last thing I really wanted to do was go searching through the internal storage of this to try and find the last moments of my drone going into the water. But obviously, now that I'm over it a bit, I went looking to see it. Plus, I've finally got a hold of DJI, and I'll tell you what they're going to do or not going to do, or maybe what they might do at the end of the video. But let's get on to the footage. So I have found two video files on here, both flights. First, I did a flight with the first battery and I flew 21.48 minutes. No problem at all. Flew around, flew close to the water. Great footage. Many of you who fly in the northern hemisphere, all of you from Canada, northern states of the United States where you're in cold temperatures, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, all those countries where you're flying your Mavic in cold know, and I know this as well, that the battery flight time is really not affected by cold. As long as you keep your batteries warm before you fly, I'm getting 21, or more minutes per flight, and that's about as good as you're going to expect even when it's warm. So all of you people who are putting in the comments that you can't fly in cold because you can't fly for more than half the battery's life when it's cold and blah, 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 blah. I've flown nonstop in cold temperatures. This day that this happened was -5, which really isn't that cold, -5 Celsius. And like I said, the first battery, 21.48 minutes. That's a long flight time and no problems at all. And you'll see the footage. I fly low over the water. I do a bunch of just hovering and panning and stuff while I'm over the water. Not an issue. Second flight, pop in the battery. The batteries were in my warm car. They weren't cold. It wasn't even a cold day. It's sunny. So the sun's coming in my car, keeping it warm as well. So people who are saying, oh, your second battery was probably cold. No, it really wasn't that cold. So that's not it either. Put the second battery in. Rich puts the second battery in his Mavic. And we both fly around. So he's in a Mavic, I'm in a Mavic, he's in cold, I'm in cold. So the next thing that people were saying was, oh, you probably flew really close to the falls and there was probably spray and it was getting all over your Mavic and it shorted things out or it got ice on your props. Well, I thought maybe that's a possibility before I went and saw the video. But I saw the video and I spend way more time close to the rapids and hovering above the rapids on my first flight than I do on my second flight. So my second flight, yes, I do also come down at some point and fly, lower over the water, but not nearly as long as my first flight. And my second flight was the one where all of a sudden this battery error came up and my Mavic went down in the water. Anyways, just wanted to dispel some of the comments that people have saying about, your first flight you probably flew high, your second flight you probably flew low to the water, that's why it went down the second flight, or your batteries were probably frozen in your car. That's not the case either. What was the other thing people were saying? Well, just generally you can't fly in cold, and so it's on you for flying in cold. Well, I've been flying in -18, -20, and anybody from those Scandinavian countries who are flying in super cold, or in Canada, other people flying Mavics in cold, know that just because it's cold doesn't mean you can't fly your Mavic. And just because it's cold doesn't mean your battery is going to instantly die after 50% of its normal flight time because it's cold. It's just not the case. As long as your batteries aren't left in a cold car overnight or somewhere where they're frozen when you try and use them, then you might have an issue. But if you keep your batteries warm before you go out to fly, there's absolutely no problem with flight time with a Mavic. So let's just dispel that rumor. So anyways, check out the footage. There's gonna be the first video. I'm gonna do some voiceover. Is gonna be a little bit crisper than the second video. The second video is the one where the drone goes down. I think the first video when I took off, I did a good tap to focus when I was up high and got a kind of like that infinity focus. And therefore everything seems crisp. The second flight, I think I hit tap to focus while I was still pointing at some trees that weren't quite that far away, but it's still, you know, watchable. It's just, there's a little bit of, tiny bit of blurriness on the second one. So you'll know which flight you're watching by, which one's crisper. Now also keep in mind, this is a 720p resolution video, because when it sends it to your tablet's recording it at 720p, not at the 1080p or 4K that is being recorded on the SD card on the drone, which of course I don't have because it's at the bottom of the Rideau River. So there you go. So you're gonna see two videos. One is the first flight that went fine, 21.48 minutes, some beautiful footage, low over the water, not an issue. Second flight, much shorter. Yeah, sure, there's some time where I'm low over the water on that one too, but you'll see the Mavic just all of a sudden starts drifting down. The battery air is on my screen. It just starts drifting down, poof, into the water, which was painful for me to watch and relive again, because when I saw it live, I was already in shock. And it felt like that Terminator movie where the Terminator's holding onto the crane and he's being lowered down into the bubbling molten steel. Well, that sort of felt how my drone felt. I'm watching it just slowly inch down into the water until it's gone. So yeah, I guess subconsciously I wasn't looking to find this video right away because it was just too fresh. But now that I've had a little time to get over my loss, I've looked at the video and it's pretty telling. Also, at the end of the video, I'll talk about what, if anything, DJI has said to me and what, if anything, they may or may not do for me. And that'll be at the end of the video. So check out the two footages. First one's gonna be the flight that went great. Second video is gonna be the one where things go horribly wrong. So check it out. Okay, this was the first flight when everything went well. As you can see, I've got it at 4 times speed. I just wanted to show you I flew way far downriver before turning around and coming back to the rapids. And that was part of this 21.48 minute flight. When I get closer, I'll drop it down to 2 times speed, and then when I get really close, I'll just drop it to normal speed so you can see how the video was actually captured. So what you can see from this is that I get down really close to the water for most of this flight after this point here. It's very good footage. I'm really happy with the ND filters I have on there. I have an ND16 and polarizer filter on the lens, and it's really making a big difference. Rich was flying his Mavic without any filters on, and he was shooting at over 1/1000th of a second shutter speed. I was able to get it down to 1/60th of a second, which gives a better image. Another thing I want to make note of is I set in my settings that the cache was 2 gigabytes of size. I could have made it 4, 8, or more. I should have had it at 4, because what ended up happening is when the second flight started, it started cropping off parts of the start of the first flight. So I only have footage of the second half of the first flight. But it's the most important part. It's where I'm over the rapids anyway. But if you have a phone or tablet that has the space, I would definitely increase the cache size so that if you want, you can capture entire videos. So as you see from this point on, I'm actually flying quite low to the water for the rest of this flight. I hover over areas that are closer to what this mini waterfall where there might be a little bit of spray. But I don't seem to have any ill effects. And like I said, the battery never shows any signs of fatigue, and I fly for over 21 minutes in this flight. I can only imagine how pretty the original footage that's on my Mavic at the bottom of the river looks in 4K, but at least I got this in 720. So as you can see, I'm spending quite a bit of time just hovering over this rapids waterfall area. And there's no obvious spray coming up, nothing of note anyway. So I don't believe that that was the reason that the second flight went wrong. I don't spend nearly this much time hovering over it on my second flight, and you'll see the footage coming up of how it just, it just sort of drifts into the water. As you can see, I've edited out quite a bit of stuff. I was hovering over the waterfalls, panning left and right quite a bit. Gotta say, the Mavic does an awesome job of doing a sideways slide, a pan, and all that in very slow movements. And I wasn't even in tripod mode. I'm just doing that with slow, gentle movements of the joystick. It is a very impressive drone. One thing I gotta say about this Mavic is it's super stable compared to my last drone, my Q500. It's more stable than that, even in windy conditions. I don't blame the Mavic at all for going down. I think I just got a defective battery. Just in case you're worried that this is not actually my footage, well, there I am standing on the shore with Rich. He just finished flying his Mavic and I'm still flying mine. Like I said, I went on for 21.48 minutes, so I think I flew longer than he did. Oh, go on, Craig, give it a happy wave. I mean, you don't know you're about to lose your Mavic. Ah, look at that, big smiles all around. Well, why not? It seemed like the perfect day up to that point. It's sunny, it's warm, it's not windy, just perfect, or so I thought. Obviously, knowing what I know now, I don't think I would have spent this much time just hovering over open water, but I decided to take one more pass over this breathtaking rapids and waterfall. Well, the 4K footage that I would have had would be even more impressive, but at least I got this to remember my old Mavic by. I can tell from looking at my screen that I'm getting some awesome shots and the ND filters are really helping. I'm telling Rich I can't wait to see this footage when I finally upload it to my computer. Okay, at this point I've probably flown for over 20 minutes and like you see, I've got a lot of footage of these rapids. So I'm thinking it's time to hit RTH, return to home, and call it a day. But of course, when Rich decides to throw a second battery in and go for another fly, I decide to join him, and obviously that was a huge mistake. Cue the sad music, cause here comes the second flight. Oh, come on, that's not appropriate music. Jeez. That's more appropriate to the send-off of my baby, Mavic 1. And as you can see, this is definitely not the first footage over again because it's a little blurry. Every Mavic owner knows that once you get up in the air, you definitely have to hit tap to focus again. I guess I forgot to do it this time, but I'm going to use this footage anyway because it's going to show the ultimate demise of my Mavic. Now, one thing I want you to notice from this is a lot of this flight I'm actually quite high up in the air. I eventually get down close to the water, but when I do, it's only for a minute or so, and then the Mavic goes down for the count. So, all those people that said I stuck my Mavic too close to the spray for too long on the second flight, not so much. I'm going to speed up the footage now just because you don't need to see a bunch of slightly out of focus rapids when you've already seen the other stuff, but just to show you that I did fly around for a while up high, and then right about now I'm going to show you the footage where I finally come down low near the water, and it's a relatively short flight at this level before you know what's going to happen. And again, for all those people that think I just sat in the spray until the Mavic finally gave up the ghost, I just want to show you I went up high again and I only came down one more time right around here. Okay, we're all about to watch my Mavic die as I fly one more time down this little canyon. It's been a very short flight so far. Right about now, I'll switch it into normal speed because I'm flying sideways. I'm going straight sideways. I should be parallel to the ground. And right about now, I notice that although the Mavic's moving forward, it's also moving down. And I'm kind of thinking, is that just because it's following the contour of the land, meaning the water's going down, so it's going down? And right about here, I start pushing up on the joysticks, thinking it's getting way too low for my comfort zone, and it's not going up. I'm getting a vibration in the controller, and I look down at the screen, and it's telling me it has a battery error, and I'm pushing up for everything I can to get it to go higher. It's not doing anything. I hit RTH, hoping that'll snap it out, and now I realize the Mavic is screwed. It's slowly drifting towards, oh, this is too hard for me to watch. Ugh. At this point, I'm on the shore just screaming, no! But there's nothing I can do. The Mavic gets washed away under the water, never to be seen again. Rich, who was also flying his Mavic, just happened to pan over and look at me walking back, and at this point, I am distraught. I'm only carrying my controller back. I have no Mavic in my hand, if you look closely. Okay, so what do I do now? Well, I finally got DJI to respond to me and I sent them my log files, and here's a map of my log file, my final flight. And as you can see, the batteries don't seem to be struggling. The time left to fly is going down at a normal rate. That green bar is still really long. It doesn't start to become a warning until you get over to the orange section. And right about 55%, you all of a sudden see a battery error message pop up on the screen. There you go. And then at this point I realize something's wrong and I'm trying to make the Mavic go up and it's just not going up. And around 53% battery, it's finally dead. That's when it's in the water. Now that DJI has my flight logs and my video, they'll see that I wasn't flying like a numpty and it really was a battery error. And hopefully I'll get a new Mavic out of it. Let's think positively and cue the funky, happy music. So if you found this episode interesting or entertaining, please give it a like. It's how the channel grows. And if you want to follow along to see if DJI actually helps me out or just sticks it to me, subscribe and follow along. And here's a fun test. Type cruising off duty into any social media or search engine and we'll be there. Don't be a stranger and stay in touch. So until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you safe cruising.